Hi guys, it is I, Becca Lori Hector, here with Growing Gratitude. Not Growing Gratitude, wrong. It's Wednesday. It is Being Becca Live right now. So thank you for joining me this Wednesday. Being Becca Live is where we chat about the challenges of being an autistic adult alive right now, and what that's like, and what we can kind of learn from it, and how we can be better people. So that's what we are talking about today. Hey, Burnett. Hey, CV. How are you guys? Um, Thank you so much for joining me. I am once again outside. Yesterday was again a 12-hour day for me. Tuesdays always are. So I was at the vet's office yesterday, and today I am pooped. Um, so yeah, my feet hurt and I'm tired, and we had a lot of I don't know, it was a lot of talking yesterday for whatever reason. So my voice is kind of tired and stuff. So bear with me. And I'm sitting out here because on the days that I'm at the vet's office, I really don't get to be outside or get fresh air, and I hate that feeling so much. So on the days when I'm not there, I try to do as much work as possible outside, not only so the dogs can get outside, but also so I can get outside and get some vitamin D and such. So that's why I've been doing it out here, which is actually the way it started. So hooray. It used to be Becca's backyard, and I used to go out there and we used to talk back there. It used to be different. But yeah, so here we are. And I put the computer like super close to me because I don't feel like yelling so that you can hear me. I just don't have a voice. We'll have a nice little intimate chat, you and I, today. Well, here's what I want to talk about today. I'm going to say this first, I guess, so I can repeat it twice. So first, before I do anything else, next week, hey, Bernard, next week, hi, Bill, if I didn't say hello. I will not be doing a live stream next Wednesday. If I do it, it will be random and short, and I'm not sure. So here's my situation. I guess this is half of what I've been thinking about and worrying about, so we might as well talk about it. As you know, I hate going to the doctor as much as any other autistic hates going to the doctor. I especially dislike it because I don't feel comfortable disclosing in a medical setting. And now I'm being sort of not forced. I'm being put in a position where I need to really think about whether or not I want to disclose. So I avoid the doctor as much as possible, but there are a couple of things that I worry about. So, for example, my grandmother passed away. My maternal grandmother passed away from Alzheimer's disease. And so I constantly worry about that, though it's too early for me to worry about it just yet. But the other thing I worry about is pancreatic cancer, because that is what took my mom. And it is a very, by the time it gets detected, most times it's usually stage 4. Hey, Joe. And so I've been having some stomach troubles, and that's something I've always had. So I have the worst gastrointestinal system. The only other person who I know who has one as bad as me is Antonio, actually. And so I have, always had stomach issues, I think, my entire life. And then at 22 or so, somewhere around there, I had my gallbladder taken out, and that really fucked things up. And so my stomach has never really quite been the same. And so over the course of time, the other thing that has royally screwed my stomach is anxiety. I wonder why that's all coming to fruition now, right? So like, we're talking about a lifetime's worth of untreated anxiety and trauma, and absolutely your body feels that, and absolutely your body takes a punishment doing that. And so as a result, here I am at 45, and my stomach is a mess, and I eat like an old person. I guess I went from eating like a 12-year-old child to an old person, and I skipped everything in between. But yeah, so I've had to eat really carefully. But lately, like the last 6 months or so, my stomach has been having weird episodes that have caused different kind of reaction from me, and a little bit more severe pain. And so I started to worry. Of course I did. Well, if anxiety gave me stomach problems, of course I should get anxiety about my stomach problems, right? And that cycle seems so stupid to me now at 45, right? Because clearly anxiety messes with my gastrointestinal system as well. And so I get worried about my stomach hurting, and then my stomach hurts more, and then I worry more, and then, right, we got you. Yes, cycle, correct. So I finally decided to man up, or woman up, or autistic up, really. I decided to autistic up and, you know, make the phone call, set the appointment, go and see somebody and start some testing. Part of the reason I avoided it is because I don't know that I want to know. Like, if I have pancreatic cancer and I catch it early, what the fuck am I going to do? I watched my mom go through chemo. She's somebody who is, or was, a really strong person, and chemo took her out faster than the cancer. So that is something I made a decision about 6 years ago that I would not do should I get pancreatic cancer, that I don't want to pursue, in fact, any treatment really, because I feel like it just sped up the end for my mom. And most likely she had lived with it 12 years before they had detected it. So that's Antonio. He's home. So that's kind of, and he probably has no idea that I'm recording this. And here go the dogs. I'm so sorry, you guys. It's about to get loud. Unprepared for the return. So anyway, yeah, I'll try to focus. Anyway, so that's where I've been up to. Hey, Nancy, thanks for joining us. Quiet, you guys. So yes, that's where I'm at with my health and whatnot. So next Wednesday, telling you all of this, next Wednesday, I have a doctor's appointment. Yay! And I am going to go and deal with it. So if while I'm down in Denver, I happen to end up somewhere around 11 o'clock, someplace that I have good signal, I will do the live stream from down there. But don't count on me, because you know how doctor's offices roll, and I have no idea when I'll actually get out and when I'll have time and all of that stupid stuff. So kind of know I'll probably not be doing a live stream next week, next Wednesday. I will do Growing Gratitude. I'm talking about next Wednesday. So telling you all of that, because it's okay. You can go through. Just go behind. Sorry, guys. And then just thinking about sort of knowing that I have to deal with that, and knowing, I don't know, if I really want to know, I guess, is where I'm at. That's the fence I'm sitting on, right? I have some other health concerns that I would like to functionally deal with, I think, also. But I'm not sure. And so I'm going to deal with all of them at the same time. One of which is that I don't have a lot of older lady friends that I'm very close with that I can ask questions of about how menopause rolls out as a human and what I should do about it and how I should feel about it. But this summer I have been extremely hot and having like episodes. And so I want to know, am I in the early stages of it, blah, blah, blah. I'm hoping that they can do some blood work or something and tell me that. Because I also have blood pressure issues, so it could be related to that too. So I'm sitting with all of that fun stuff. And then, of course, as of late, since I've been back doing a job on my feet, I've noticed certain things in my body. And now, you guys, and now I'm on the fence about whether or not I think I have some version of EDS, which Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, really common in the autism world. Hello to zebras out there. I know you're out there watching. I think I might be one of you. I'm not sure. As you know, there's not much that we can do about knowing what version, what type of EDS. Yeah, so I don't know. I'm on that journey as well. So next Wednesday should be interesting. Hey, Joe's a zebra. So I'm going to explore that part of myself, because I've always been hyperextended everywhere, like all of my joints, and no one ever really addressed it as anything. It was sort of like a party trick. But as I'm getting older, I'm having weird aches and pains, and I'm wondering if not only that, but because autistic brain, if it's all, my stomach is also part of EDS, because there can be issues with your gastrointestinal system when you have EDS, where you can also, those tissues in there are also affected by it. And so now I wonder if all of my lifetime issues of stomach, right, are exacerbated by anxiety, but maybe have this underlying nonsense thing, right? So that is what I'm going to do next Wednesday, which is why very likely there may not be a live stream next week. If there is, yay, that means I found some place like a coffee shop or a bookstore or some place to sit at just the right time to go ahead and kind of explore that, and maybe I can get the live stream in at the same time. If not, forgive me. There's plenty of other content up here on this YouTube videos that you can watch, and if not, go find some other channels and explore. But anyway, I digress. So the first 10 minutes goes to that explanation because we're going to talk about that after my doctor's appointment, to be sure. And I will have to decide sometime before next Wednesday whether I want to talk about autism as a part of this because I'm bringing up the EDS, blah, blah, blah. Thus, I'm sitting in a place of disclosure in a situation where I don't really like disclosing. So there we are, you guys. I will keep you updated on the health front. If I miss next week, now you know why. And if I catch you, great. And then probably the week after that, I'll do some talking about what the doctor's office was like and what did I end up doing and all of that stuff. So we'll get there. But today, I want to talk about something else. So that was the first 10 minutes of nothing related to the actual topic of today. So sorry. What I want to talk about today is something I think you guys are all familiar with, or at least you will, maybe you call it something else, but you will know the scenario, I think. So what I call it is the talk, right? And a lot of people, when they say the talk, they mean like the sex talk with their kids, but that's not what I mean. When you are starting at a new job, any new job, right? And you run in some situations in there, right? And you start out, you have, at least in America. So Joe, excuse me, everyone else who's not from America, excuse me. But I only have my, US experience to talk about. So here we do like a 90-day trial period is pretty standard with a new job. And sort of at that 90-day period, they let you know, yes, we want you to keep working, but here are the things you can work on. And or they say, it's not working out, get out. Usually, though, if that's going to happen, you've already been fired. Sometimes you start at a lower pay for those 90 days. And then if you make it through the 90 days, you get like your health insurance and you may get like $1 more an hour or whatever it is. But that's the case here. And I think we're taught a lot about here in the States that those 90 days are for you to show what a good employee you are, right? But we're not really taught the other side of the coin, which is it is your 90 days to really test your new workplace and your new coworkers and your new boss, right? It is as much a 90-day trial period for them testing you as it should be for you testing them, which is a half I missed out entirely on, right? Most of my life, I went in blind to those to doing work scenarios. I didn't know I was allowed to be unhappy about a job. I didn't know that I was allowed to be offered a job and say, no, thank you. I thought if I offer, right? So I didn't understand that I could do 90 days at a job, not like it and say, you know what, this isn't for me. And that's not the same as quitting or getting fired, right? I didn't understand that it was my chance to also see if this was a workplace that I wanted to be in. Right. And that's because my whole life invalidated my entire reality and kind of what were my needs, who cares, all of that crap. Right. Okay. So this time going in, and I've looked at the 90 days a little differently. Right. And I've talked about a few other things in here about the 90 days and what's been going on in terms of that. Because as you know, employment is absolutely a source of trauma for me and full of triggers for me. It's probably, other than if I had to forcibly go back to like elementary school or middle school, it's probably the most trauma triggered place for me, a workplace. Probably second to that will be the doctor's office. Yeah. Okay. So can't wait for that. I'm already thinking about it. So yeah. And so it's full of all of that. And so there's landmines all over the place in terms of trauma triggers for me and the workplace and all of this stuff. Okay. So moving forward, we talked about the 90 days. I explained to you what the 90 days are for. So I'm about halfway through my 90 days. And at about this time, right, in almost every workplace I've ever been in, it is time for the talk, right? It's an unofficial meeting of sorts where whoever it is that runs your human resources, or maybe you work for a small company and it's your direct boss or whatever it is, it's the person who oversees you and is sort of one of the deciding factors in whether or not, you stay on after your 90 days, whatever. It's usually that person. And usually get a casual, hey, for me. Hey, Becca, want to have a conversation for a second? Can you, are you busy, middle of something? And it's always this really kind way of asking, you busy, you're in the middle of something, right? Can you just come with me to the other room? We're just gonna have a quick conversation, right? So there's never any prep for it. There's never any, yeah, we're gonna have a meeting tomorrow to talk about this, right? So there's no way that you can sort of on your side be like, okay, I have that meeting tomorrow. Are there things that I'd like to bring up? Because if they can be fixed in the next 45 days, I'll stay, right? Which should be the other side of the conversation, right? But we're not given those conversations. It doesn't play out like that in most workplaces. It's usually because everyone wants you to feel like it's so casual and it's not a big deal type meeting, they make it like, hey, can I talk to you for a second? Like they're your friend, right? That's how it always plays out in the workplace. But the truth is, it is sort of an official meeting, and it would be great if we could get prep time so that the day before we could sort of think about the things we'd like to bring up to the table. Because when we're not prepared and we enter into a scenario like that, at least for me, my brain goes, wow, like that. I mean, I don't know how else to explain it. That's how it feels inside. Because I know that I have intelligent criticisms or thoughts or things that I would like to have people help me with, right? Things I know I'm struggling with, or people I'm struggling with, or stuff like that. And I would love to make use of that meeting and be prepared with it. So my brain wants to find those things now. Where are they? Where are they? And it's panicking and it's looking. And of course, because I wasn't prepared, I can't find it anywhere, right? And that's happening in my brain. And then at the same time, my brain is going, oh my God, what the fuck did I do? Did I do something huge? Did I fuck something up yesterday so big that I'm having to have this conversation today, right? What else? Blah, blah, do I have to pee? All of these things, right? And then, of course, as I'm walking through the door of that meeting into the talk, I am thinking to myself, okay, holy fuck, keep yourself together, Becca, please don't cry. Because every time I'm overloaded in this particular situation, so I'm like, my brain is overloaded because it wants to come off. I want to be able to share and communicate the stuff that's going on in there. I'm not a moron, and I'm not someone who's not attentive, and I'm not paying attention. I know there are things that I struggle with, right? I'm somebody who's thoroughly aware of their own behavior and takes absolute responsibility for that. And that's because of my lifetime scenario, right? And so in that moment, I want to be a professional during this meeting, and yet I feel like a 5-year-old child. Okay, I'm panicking, I'm emotional, I'm overloaded, and inevitably it makes me want to cry. Like my body doesn't know what to do with all of that, and it turns to tears of like true panic, right? And that scenario I've had played over and over for me as well, stepping in there feeling like you're ready to cry, right? And now at this point in my life, it's now a trauma trigger, right? So all of that stuff happened at once, right? Unplanned meeting, try to be casual, remember all of these things. Don't forget to talk about this stuff because you do have some concerns. This is your opportunity, blah, 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 all of this stuff. Did I pee? Oh my God, how am I going to make it through this meeting? Oh, I probably fucked up and I'm going to cry. And I have to sit down to this meeting. Okay? So I'm sitting this meeting. And no matter what people say to me in that scenario or how they phrase it, I am, at this point, it's such a trauma trigger that I'm already here. It doesn't matter how nicely they say what they have to say. It doesn't matter if it's surrounded by positivity. It doesn't matter if they hand me a note inside of a cotton candy something, right? It is still going to hit me in this initial way because it's a trauma scar, and it hits me that way, and all I hear and all my brain hears and processes is you fucked up, these are the things you're doing wrong, this is what you need to fix, blah 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 blah. And so I had that meeting, was it this week? No, last week. It was last week. I had that meeting, and all of that shit happened in real time, exactly what I just talked to you about. I managed to keep myself together and not cry, and I also managed to talk about the one particular issue that I was having, right? And I also tried to hear the things that they were talking about and not through my trauma filter, like take the words and just what are the words that are being used, forget who it's coming from, forget the scenario, forget how I'm feeling about it, right? What are the actual words, right? And so I went through what is, I don't know what to call it. It feels like when you go through a trauma and it triggers for you, we can sort of control that response. So I did really well as far as I'm concerned. Would I love to do better next time? Yes. Would I love to be able to one day be prepared for those type of meetings? Yeah. But hopefully this is the last time I'll ever have to do it. Right. But all that stuff aside, right, I could hear my coach's voice through the panic, even though it took me an hour and a half to get there. So had this meeting, went out, did the thing that we all always try to do, which is try to get back to work, pretend like it didn't happen, nobody's telling me I'm fired, all of this stuff, and try to behave back at ourselves, but we can't. And so just like it always does happen, there goes being selectively mute or situationally mute, right? So for that next hour and a half, I had to be really careful, like to not get myself involved in too many situations and in regard to actual health and well-being of animals, because I wasn't there, right? And I really wasn't prepared to have a conversation or communicate with anybody because my brain wasn't working. So I tried to just do other things like take out garbage and mop the floor and, restock things, stuff that wouldn't, so I was busy and not just sitting there like a dope, but also not putting any lives in danger and taking the time I needed to sort of get through this piece that was going to be selective mutism or situational mutism, right? So I went, I did all that, and then I took the garbage out so I could take a walk outside, and I did stuff like that. And then I managed to kind of pass through it. I talked to you guys about how Antonio had stopped by with coffee, and just seeing him was, regrounded me, and I needed it, and blah, blah, blah. This was that day. And so he came, and I sat with him outside for a few minutes, and then I had lunch. And then by the time lunch was over, I was sort of ready to get back to work, and I was still kind of doing the thing, Joe. I was replaying the conversation and replaying it, but I was replaying it to try to hear what was actually said and not what I heard. Does that make sense? And what I realized was that there were compliments in there, and what I heard in there too was there was a lot of responsibility taking on their part, that I wasn't getting the training that I needed either, right? And so it was like, things aren't going great, but it's not really all your fault. In fact, it's mostly not your fault, but yet I hear it's all your fault, right? That's all I can hear, is it's all your fault. And they ended up putting me with a trainer this week. And I say it like I don't want to use people's names. We're a very tiny office, right? So they put me with somebody to get some proper training, because there was stuff I was struggling with, and it was mostly like procedural stuff. So I don't know if you guys have this experience, but when somebody is trying to teach you like a multi-step process, if that process gets interrupted while they're teaching it to me, I need them to start all over, right? Like I need to see it from beginning to end without interruption so that I can memorize it. If it gets interrupted, if the person teaching it to me changes or blah, 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 or I start learning from someone who's not necessarily doing it exactly the way everyone wants it done, right? I start doing those bad habits too, or I don't really know what the next step are, and I get stuck at a certain point and all of that stuff. And all of that can be frustrating. And so having someone directly assigned to me, and also having some time to sit down and with that person evaluate the stuff that I think, I don't need any more time on this. I've got this stuff down. Here's the shit I need to know. Here's where I feel stuck, right? And being able to have that conversation really helped, right? It helped streamline and what we spent our time doing and things like that, right? And when the opportunities came up for them to be real life scenarios for those difficult things, right? And so, I left that day after the first real day of any kind of, I don't want to say it I don't know how to say it without trying to be negative, because most places do not train properly. So it's not a criticism, right? I've never been properly trained anywhere with the information that I need to have to do the job properly. You usually just glean that along the way, or you step your foot in a giant hole and trip on it, and that's what happens, right? So, it's that the difference between what it feels like to go to work when you're properly trained versus when you're trying to learn in some other way because everything is so hectic. And sometimes it is in real life, and some offices are like that, and some workplaces are like that, right? Some jobs are like that. So you don't always get this luxury of proper training. So I'm not saying it like, oh, everybody else does this, why didn't, right? It's not like that. It's like nobody does it, why don't they, right? And so I feel a lot more confident now that I've had that, right? And now that I've had the space, it's been exactly a week, I think, that I have the space between the actual meeting and processing it all through, right? And knowing that some of it had to get assigned to the trauma zone, right? Some of it was trauma trigger response. Some of it was the autism response to a change of schedule on an unplanned meeting, right? And some of it is habit. Some of it is the way that my brain hears certain shit, right? It's crazy when those aren't the words that were being used necessarily, right? And so it's been a really interesting thing to sort of process through that, right? And to give myself to practice the pause. I have no other way to describe it to you guys other than what I use in class, which is I practice the pause, right? I could have done my old response, right? And I did go into the thoughts of that old habit response. See, I can't do this. I told you I'd never make it. There's no way I'm going to be able to pull this off. Oh, well, I'll let the 90 days go through. We'll see what the fuck happens then. So, and whatever, it's fine, blah, 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 all this. And if I want to, I can just leave. It's fine. Right. And I create the escapes for myself. I create the outs, the permission for outs. Right. And that's because I get freaked out and a trauma trigger was buzzed on, and I never would have called them those things, and I never would have seen them as those things if I didn't do the work that I've done to get to know myself and to work on this shit, right? And so I've had those meetings go really bad where I haven't been able to not cry, where I've gone into meltdown and said things that I would rather have not said in a professional setting, right? Be they true, just would rather have not said them. And this time I didn't let that happen. This time I took control of my response. This time I got up well. Does that make sense? Did I get it perfect? No, there's no fucking such thing as that, so give it up, right? But I got up better than I've ever gotten up before, which means I got up well for me, right? Can I get up better next time? Probably. I absolutely could, right? But, for me, I did well. For me, I was resilient. For me, I took control of my response, which was, in that scenario, particularly the only thing I had control over. That's why I tell you guys, that's where your power lies, in that moment, in your responses, right? I had no control over when that meeting was going to happen, with who, what I would be doing when they did it, if I would be ready for it, right? None of it. Didn't know what the context or content was going to be, nothing, right? And just like every other time before, the trauma trigger gets buzzed and we go into an autopilot response. That is not your fault, okay? You just go into that autopilot, and it takes a conscious rerouting of those thoughts and a conscious effort to do them differently that changes the cycle, that changes the loop, that stops the loop, all of that stuff. Because if we can realize that we can reroute those thoughts, we can have different outcomes. If we don't do the work to reroute those thoughts, we will have the same outcomes over and over again. So if you're tired of your own bullshit and you're tired of the same cycles happening over and over again, you got to do something differently. You got to take control. And the only place that power is in your responses, right? It's in your responses to all the shit that comes flying at you. And so practice your responses. That's where it lies. Your prep is almost useless. Prep is okay to an extent, but it's much more useful to get good at your response, right? That's what I've learned from this whole scenario, right? It is just a job, but I'm learning personal development things. I'm learning about me some more by putting myself, sort of exposing myself to known trauma triggers, right? I essentially am like, yes, I'll walk on hot coals because I want to know, how I deal with burns. That's essentially what I'm doing is, I'm going to walk on hot coals and see how I manage it. If I can manage to handle the burns differently this time. And that's what I want to leave you with today, guys. is that I have had the talk, and this is how I processed it differently this time. And I will probably have to have the talk many more times in my life. And I really hope to get better at it. I know I did many steps forward this time, and I will always keep working and evolving. I hope you guys found this useful. I hope kind of that you glean little things when I tell you these stories, because I want you to know that I'm not like superhuman. I'm having things happen to me the very same way that they happen to you. And what I'm choosing to do is consciously think about the way that I am choosing to respond, or what is happening, and taking a step back and looking at it, right, for what it is. And I was never been able to do that before, right? Yeah, Joe just said, guessing you kept the job and want to stay too. I'll tell you what, I did keep the job. Yes, of course. I didn't give in to myself and that emotional, sort of meltdown response that I was having. And I've gone back to work a bunch of times since then. But am I going to stay too? I'm going to tell you what, Joe. Normally at this point in time, I would say to people, yeah, I'm pretty happy. I'll probably stay. But I'm going to do that differently too. I still have another 45 days to make that decision. So I'm going to use those 45 days to be observant and to make sure that I'm coming home on more days than not feeling tired, but fulfilled, and making sure that I'm waking up in the mornings that I have to go there and still wanting to go and still happy to go. Because if I can't do that for 90 days straight, then I don't want to stay. I shouldn't stay. And I should have learned that a long time ago, because I never really used my 90 days properly. So I have no answer to am I going to stay too just yet. If I had to take a guess right now where I'm sitting, yes. But I don't want to make that decision just yet, and I don't want to write it in cement. I want to give myself the freedom of the full 90 days to decide, and so I shall. And when that's up, I'll let you know what I decided to do, of course. But that's where I'm at right now. So I hope this was sort of a helpful way to think about stuff, right? Yes, Bernard. Oh my God, Bernard just described this so well. So he just wrote, I feel as if I'm miles inside my body, sinking into my chair during those trauma moments. Yes, that is a perfect way to describe it. It's like you melt from the inside. That's how it feels. You like melt into yourself and then melt down into the couch almost. It's like you disappear into yourself a little bit, right? And that is dissociation, by the way. That's a form of dissociation, by the way, and that is a fully normal way to respond to trauma and repeated trauma. So Bernard, know that that's normal. It happens to me too. It is normal. It is not. It is a normal response, no matter the length of time of your trauma or the depth of your trauma, right? That dissociation is what the brain does. And so, yeah, but it's a very melty, it's a very melty sensation to me. And so I don't know if you guys experience it melty, but it is. And so, and then sort of a sucking in too. It's like that too. And so like you become tiny and melty down in the bottom of your chair. So yeah, but I survived that, right? And I processed it in a way that worked for me without having to have a meltdown at work, right? And then I really I didn't just leave it, right? I continued to process it for the days that follow, and I continue to process it now, because there's more, I'm sure, in there for me to learn. But this was a big one. This was like a super win for me, because it's the scariest thing in the world to set yourself up for trauma. Like I'm setting myself up to be triggered by accepting a job, period, right? Yes. Oh, you guys agree? Thank you. So retraction into the shell. Yes. And melty. That's exactly. It's like you. Ugh. Okay. So now that we can agree to a very good description of what this feels like, I'm glad that you guys are. It's resonating with you, because again, these little walkthroughs of how I'm processing through these actual situations, I hope are showing you that I use the tools that I teach to you, and I mean it. I use them. But also that you can do this too. I'm not doing something superhuman. You can. Right? You can totally do it. So that's it for today. It's kind of a long live stream. Sorry I went on for so long, but it was a lot of detail, and I've kept it here for you, so I wanted to get it out. And And yeah, so another reminder that next Wednesday, Becca is heading to the doctor just to, to do the hard things and to face the scary stuff. That is where I'm headed for next Wednesday. Maybe I will do a live stream. Maybe I will be able to find a spot. But if not, know that there may not be a live stream next week. Most likely not, because I will be at the doctor. But then I'll be back the following Wednesday so we can talk about the doctor. And of course, I'll be here on Sunday with Growing Gratitude. I'm still going to leave it for right now at 10 a.m. Hopefully this Sunday I can remember at 10 a.m. and then I'm not that tired. And so that should be fun. So I'll do gratitude this week, 10 a.m. Mountain Standard Time on Sunday, and then possibly skipping next week's live stream on Wednesday. Maybe not, don't know. Anyway, thank you guys for joining me today. I really, really appreciate it. I love that we get to spend this time together. I honestly look forward to it a lot. So I'm glad to have had that time with you. So until we meet again, please know that your thumbs up and thumbs down let me know if I'm on point with my contact. Your shares of my channel, your subscriptions, all of those things mean a huge amount to me because I put a lot of energy into this channel. And actually, it's the thing I kind of care about the most right now of what I'm doing. I really enjoy the contact a lot. So anyway, I also love hearing your comments and all of that stuff. So you can comment wherever you're seeing this video and you will hear from me. Or you can email me directly at info@beccalory.com, and that's Lory. If that's not enough ways to get in touch with me, you can 100% use the contact page on my website because that email goes directly to me. And again, my website is beccalory.com. It's down there in the description if you need it. You can sign up for my free newsletter when you're there. You can check out my social media, my writing, definitely the Self-Defined Living course and the adjacent seminars. By the way, this morning, I know what I thought of the one for September, you guys. I think you're going to be excited. I'm going to be doing boundary setting in September as the seminar. So get excited about that. I really, really hope you guys go out there with the next few days and seek joy, create joy, share joy, all the joys. And I will see you on Sunday for Growing Gratitude. Until then, I'll see you out and about on the interwebs. Bye.